Yo, what's up guys, Super here. I'll be going over how to league start Flicker Strike in this guide for Forbidden Sanctum. But first, let me talk about what's changed for this skill. As you know, Flicker Strike has gotten a new Vol variant that will increase the attack speed of its hits and repeat the attack 25 times, but the damage won't apply until the end of the sequence. Now this is potentially a good burst DPS for those short moments, but in the long-term types of fights, this will not be a DPS increase in any way, shape, or form. Also, there will be a change to melee splash as it is now allocatable on the tree where Tribal Fury is, so there is no need to get a melee splash gem linked up with your Flicker Strike anymore. This pretty much covers all the changes that's been made to the Flicker Strike build, besides the new unique weapons such as Starforge and Voidforge being buffed, but I don't have high hopes for that weapon being viable in this build. So you're probably asking, which class to pick to play Flicker Strike? Well, I'll be going over the pros and cons of each ascendancy in this part of the video. For Raiders, it'll be an easier time to league start since you'll have access to Frenzy Charges through the ascendancy. Slayers would have to rely on getting an Oro Sacrifice or a Terminus S to even start flickering. Also, Raiders have an easier time to get 100% spell suppression due to the fact that they can get spell suppression for free on their ascendancy. Some challenges that Raiders do encounter is that they are very squishy due to being an evasion-based build, and also cannot do early reflect and early mapping. Slayers, on the other hand, get more survivability through overleeching. This is big in terms of defense as well as running Replica's Feral's Fur for almost 8 endurance charges, always up. You'll be able to run reflect maps no problem as well due to its ascendancy. The only downside to starting Slayer is the struggle to obtain frenzy charges at league start, since I've mentioned earlier that he relies on getting an Oros or Terminus. Warning, this is not a good league starter. There are tons of better builds out there that will be easier to play before you start Flicker. For this section of the build, I'll be talking about the skill tree. It's pretty self-explanatory. I've already got most of it labeled for leveling, such as before normal lab, which is around level 40. Cruel lab around level 55. And then Merciless lab, which is 67, which is Act 10. And then endgame as well, which when you're done mapping. But I'll be skimming over these real quick to show you what to get while you're leveling. I'll start with the first. As you travel through, get these elemental damage nodes as well as elemental resistance nodes. Go through the health nodes first. Travel up to grab the Clever Thief. Usually, you don't want to grab the frenzy charges too early until you get Way of the Poacher, since this is the only way you can actually get charges without Terminus S or Oros. So before you acquire those, you want to travel most of your way in the first couple acts just to get to these nodes first, like grabbing Golem's Blood, and then after that Fang's Frost, stuff like that. Then, as you acquire Way of the Poacher to get your frenzy charge, you'll be able to start speccing into these frenzy charges and then find use for them as they give you more damage, more movement speed, and more attack speed. And as you progress through the story, you'll be able to get to Cruel Lab, Act 8 usually, get Disciple of Slaughter. This will give you tons of buffs such as increased damage per frenzy, movement speed per frenzy, attack speed per frenzy, and evasion. And this POB is not updated for the Tribal Fury changes yet, but this is supposed to be the melee splash. And the melee splash on these will be gone. So hopefully this will make leveling with Flicker Strike possible, but we'll see until then. The league drops. Get over here for some more crits, more HP, more stat requirements for strength and int, and also mana on hit. And for Merciless Lab, or before basically Act 10, when you're pretty much done here, you'll be trying to get some of the mastery nodes, such as Maximum Life, here and there, but you can get them earlier if you tend to die more. And then more damage here. And then more damage here. And then more HP. Pretty much self-explanatory on following the trees here. I will say that this is league start. So this is not optimized for any other min-maxing for Flicker Strike. This is just a basis of what I want to do when I'm going to league start my Raider. But overall, pretty easy. I forgot about the ascendancies, but here you also get Cruel Lab, you also get Avatar Slaughter for more damage, or attack speed, stuff like that. You move into Merc Lab and get this for more survivability. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. You'll be finding this POB down in the description below. I'll try to update the POB when the changes to Tribal Fury come out, and also the Bal Flicker Strike skill gem. But right now, this is just the skeleton for the Flicker Strike build. And the damage seems to be pretty good on paper compared to maybe playing. So we'll see. For the gear, I'll be going over the high budget and low budget versions in terms of gear and the most important parts that you can get cheap. So for the weapon first, I'll be talking about what you can go for. You can go for a Paradoxica or a Terminus Est. Oros, I'm not fond of due to the fact that fire is just not as good as these two. Due to the fact that fire is just overall not as good. You can tell by DPS 2 mil. Anyways. Terminus S or Paradoxica. Paradoxica being the end game, you get a shield with suppression if you need to. Some of your defenses that way. Or even more damage. But for League Start, I'll probably try to obtain a Terminus S for the DPS early, but later on, by like day 2 or 3, probably get a Paradoxica for that DPS increase. And for the helmet, regular generic stuff. Most of the rare gear here is very generic res cap stuff. You can easily find and change. Same with like stat requirements, like if you need strength. It's on the belt, but you can get it on the rings if you need to. This one has Aspect the Cat due to Feral's Fur. I will say Feral's Fur will probably be the most expensive due to the fact that you can only get it from bestiary and it's very hard to even get in the first place. But it's super good if you can obtain this, probably by day 2. Grim Sorrow is very important, very cheap. Gives you the strength and also converts all your fizz damage to cold, which is very important for Flicker Strike since most of your damage is cold. So this is a big note. League Start. You can get these. You can also buy them on trade if you can. Dark Ray Vector is also nice since they give you maximum frenzy charge by 1, but also increase your evasion and then gets around like 40% movement speed here. But this is the reason why you get Dark Ray Vector is +1 maximum frenzy charge because you can't get maximum frenzy charge anyway on boots. This is super good. Gives you crazy more damage due to the fact that you spec into Avatar the Slaughter and also, Disciple and all that fun stuff. For the amulet, you'll be getting Yoke of Suffering or even the Pandemonious. I prefer Yoke due to the fact that you get more stats out of it due to the Onyx Amulet and also more res due to being a triple res. But the Pandemonious will do more damage slightly, but for utility, Yoke is like 10 times better and nicer. So for that, you also allocate Panopticon for totems, which is big, huge DPS increase. So usually you want to do that because it gives you a 50% increase effective buffs, meaning the attack speed from Protector and then increase fizz from. And with rings here, boring stuff, res, life, whatever. You can get these anywhere. Flask, Diamond Flask to get that close to crit cap. Attack speed, you could go for more avoidance here if you want to. I don't really care about that stuff since you get 50% from the tree here. If you care about more survivability, you kind of want to replace some of these effects, more defensive ones, for the magic ones, such as no freeze and stuff like that. The Diamond Flask, a Serious Promise is very easy to get. Pretty cheap as well. Probably not on the first day, obviously, but more damage that way. You've run other defensive flask here as well. Silver Flask for the Onslaught, which is more damage, and the changes to Onslaught don't affect this sadly right now, but still pretty good. More crit here because I went for charge recovery and stuff like that. Bottle of Faith, very expensive, so you're probably going to be opting for a more Sulfur Flask. You'll be losing about 8 damage here, but this is still fine. You can opt in for charge recovery or charge recovery when you deal crit. These are both fine. And then for the last flask, you definitely need this no matter what. It's the Vine Flask for bleed, corrupted blood, and if you don't, you'll probably be dying a lot because you don't have this. It's pretty much the gear. The clusters are going to be pretty much end game as well. A little expensive. 8 passive, Leech, Feed the Fury, Fuel the Fight, Martial Prowess, Mana, Life Leech, increase damage while leeching, or damage with Martial Prowess. These clusters are very good for more crit chance. This is actually not a bad option because pressure points will give you a chance to double damage here. You don't have Paradoxica yet, so they're very nice, but also give you a lot of crit. You can go for 4 or 5 passive skills here. Doesn't matter. Whatever you can get, as long as you get basics of pain and pressure points, pretty good. Generic jewels here as well. Maximum life, res, attack speed. This is pretty much like garbage, but what you're pretty much looking for is crit multiplier with swords, or crit multi overall to get more damage. That's pretty much it. I didn't put anything here, but yeah, that's pretty much for the gear section. Nothing much to talk about. Like I said, Terminus Est, very good. Grim Sorrow is very important. Dark Ray Vectors, still good, but you don't really need them that much. Yoke more damage, and yeah, pretty easy to gear. For the skills, pretty easy to get. Most of it you can get acquired through leveling, but some specific ones you're going to be needing through library and or Lily, such as Ice Bite, Fortify, due to the fact that you're a ranger, so you can't get Fortify since it's a melee skill. But overall, you want to get a 6-link here for Flicker, Ice Bite, elemental damage to attacks, close combat, Fortify, multi-strike. But if you're on a 4-link, you want to do Flicker Strike, close combat, multi-strike, and elemental damage to attacks. And for the 5th link, if you ever get it, Ice Bite, then lastly, Fortify. For the totems here, which will give you even more damage, you definitely want to run both of them, Protector and War Chief, since you're getting the 50% buff effect from Panopticon, which gives you more attack speed and also more damage. You must run multiple totems if you want to summon both these totems. And as a note, having more of one totem of the same kind does not give you more damage. It's going to be always one totem for each to give you a buff. Falling Strike is very optional here. You can get a 4-link, 3 red here, 1 green. This is optional. This is just for easier time to clear bosses and whatnot when you need that Culling Strike. For auras, most of the defense is out the window since we're Raider and evasion's kind of, wishy already. You could run Hatred, Herald of Ice, Precision, all damage, more crit, more cold damage, and also Blood Rage, not an aura, but I have it here just because. You can put this anywhere you want, even in the weapon. So give you more attack speed, more leech, and more frenzy charge on kills. So it's very nice, actually. For the curses, you'll be running a Frostbite with Hex Touch and Vortex, meaning that you'll just basically be walking around, holding Flicker Strike down with your right click, and then whenever you feel like, walking to a boss or having a harder time, you drop the Vortex to drop the curse. And this does not affect the change, if I'm correct. Besides Frostbite getting nerfed slightly in terms of the negative res, but overall you still be having good damage this way. Aspect of the Cat will be free with Feral's Fur. You'll be getting that later in the game. Leap Slam for your movement skill here. Leap Slam, faster attacks, life tap. You can run a Culling Strike as the 4th link if you care, but this could be on your weapon here, since it's usually a 3-socket. So these two can be on your weapon and shield here. Auras on boots, gloves, helmet. Same with the totems here, gloves, helmet, or boots. And this Flicker Strike for your body armor. So yeah, you're not really having a problem with sockets at all. So if you have some left over, you can use them to level other gems in it, or just leave them empty, no problem. Yeah, that is the skill overview here for the build. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Flicker Strike build guide on League Start. If you guys have any questions or concerns, leave a comment down below. and any resources you need will be in the description as well. Overall, I will say this again, this is not a league start build. This is more of a second build type thing when you have more currency. Better build options such as Poison Concoction, Spectral Helix, Seismic Trap, Bone Shatter, all those skills will do a lot better at starting the league than Flicker Strike. But if you want to have fun, then this is the build for you. Hope this video helps. Make sure to like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching.